Okay, you can start now.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Please confirm you can really hear me, so I'll know if I need to kind of raise my voice a little bit or just.
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you for that response. Welcome to today's knowledge development session. My name is Olivia Wami, and I want to discuss Icsm frameworks today. Icsm is simply information technology service management, and Icsm is simply an established set of defined or well-defined services that focuses on managing IT infrastructure, business components, application, and associated processes. So not to waste much time, let's just go back to the beginning, an introduction of what it simply is, just like I said. But the one thing I really want us to know is when you actually apply Icsm properly, do you actually help your IT operations team to successfully manage more complex hybrid environments and then accelerate like the delivery of cloud services? But before I move forward, I know this is the first time some of us are hearing about Icsm, but I'm sure you have heard about something called service management, IT service management, and all that. And you have also heard me discuss something called Itil. My last knowledge development session was basically about Itil. And Itil is simply an Icsm framework. So today we'll just really talk about all of the frameworks out there and then how Icsm comes in place with offering or delivering service management. So IT service management basically consists of activities, tools, processes, and policies that businesses and other organizations use to deliver IT service. So if you deliver IT service in one form or the other, whether your department is in HR, finance, infrastructure, whatever, digital marketing, so far as you deliver IT service, you actually need to make use of the Icsm framework. Any of them out there, there are actually a lot of them, and we'll be looking at them today. So first of all, how do you kind of characterize Icsm? Right now, it actually involves assistance for both engineering and operations domain. Icsm actually helps you with that. It also helps with techniques, tools, and processes through which IT departments support and empower their environment to deliver services. So with what you can see on my screen, you can actually use Icsm to make all of those things possible. And the interesting one is the frameworks can actually help with IT service value being measured. And if you intend to kind of, integrate Agile or Waterfall or Devops, it is very possible to do that in Icsm or in IT service management. If you're just joining the core, we're talking about IT service management today and the frameworks involved or used in delivering IT service management. So what is the Icsm framework? Which this is just simply collection of processes, and it supports the full spectrum of IT services. Like I said, the word is, or the phrase is Icsm. So we're just talking about IT service management. So of course you're going to be talking about it's going to just talk about all of the aspects or all of the spectrum of IT services. And a key thing I want us to know from this section of my slide is that an Icsm framework focuses on services rather than systems, unlike other IT disciplines such as network and thereabouts. Don't worry, moving forward, you kind of understand what I mean by that. So now let's dive down to really IT service management, what it is, what it's all about. When you say Icsm framework, what in essence, what are you trying to say? So now there are a lot of them out there, just like you can see on my screen. There are a lot of frameworks you can use in delivering IT service. And several Icsm framework and standards such as the Itil, Itsm, COBIT contribute to like defining standard operation techniques and supporting services, while frameworks like Devops, Lean, Control, Objective for information and related technology, which is COBIT, is mostly popular. So most persons delivering services or IT services would have heard of frameworks like the Itil, framework like the COBIT, frameworks like Lean and DevOps. That's simply because those ones are popular, but they don't necessarily mean that they are the only ones out there. So there are really a lot of them that you can actually, use depending on what your needs are, depending on what your organization goals are as well. So just diving down to really giving us a brief explanation of what these frameworks are. You know that enterprises or businesses across the world so often leverage on Itil and other frameworks together for their needs. So it's not just within our immediate space that you use IT service management frameworks. You can use that. It's actually used all over the world. And each framework has its own range of possibilities and approach. So dependent on what you need to do, dependent on your organization's unique challenge, right? You're able to choose which framework is best for you. So the first one is Itil. And Itil is simply Information Technology Infrastructure Library. If you need to really know more about Itil, you can just watch my previous knowledge development session. I really did explain in depth what Itil is all about. And this is the most commonly used framework out there for service management. And it relates to service lifecycle and kind of aligning IT efforts with business needs and instructing organizations on how best to use their IT services for changes, for development and transformation as well. So in the organization, in Bincom, currently, the framework we use for IT for IT service delivery or for service delivery is actually the Itil framework. And the process kind of details how to develop a strategy, how to go about designing, your strategy or a roadmap to kind of initiate your strategy, to also manage change. You kind of handle service operations and management. And the key thing or the interesting thing about Itil is that at any level of its 5 life cycle, which is service strategy, service design, service operation, and service transition, there's something called continuous service improvement. So at any of the stage you kind of go through a continuous service improvement. You kind of measure to make sure that what you intend to do, the strategy you intend to take is in line with what you really want. Another is the COBIT. And this framework is simply Control, Objectives for information related technology. So it's kind of really long, but you can just call it COBIT. And it's designed to just unify an organization's practices and help organizations kind of develop information management and governance strategies as well. And COBIT has like a core model that kind of include 40 management and governance objectives. But I won't really mention all of those 40. The thing is, COBIT kind of has like a principle that these 40 models revolve around, and that's aligning business goal with your IT goals and establishing a solid governance framework, as well as navigating information governance and risk management and security. So if you intend to use this framework, which is CORBIT, it kind of helps you with resources for building, for monitoring, and improving your practice as well. So if you're this, if you're kind of this person that wants to, let's say, align or merge two or more frameworks together, you can actually merge CORBIT with Itil and TOGAF. The TOGAF would be talking about it very soon. So another framework we have is the Icsm, which is Enhanced Telecom Operation Map. So we would get a lot of, you're going to hear me say a lot of abbreviation. That's because these frameworks are kind of, their name is really long, actually. So the Icsm is a framework specialized or is specific for telecommunication industry. So if you're in the telecommunication industry, you get to use Icsm more than the other frameworks. And it kind of has three major processes, just like I said with the others. And the processes are strategy, infrastructure and products, operations, and enterprise management. This is just how the Icsm framework kind of operates. And each of those process areas provide like different values and guidelines to the organization. So from ways to support your customers to details on how to manage the business. And if you intend to adopt Icsm across your organization, your enterprise, it actually helps for better communication between employees and team, due to the standardization of definition and uniform language, which comes from the strategy, the process or the major processes, which is strategy, infrastructure process, products rather, operations, and enterprise management. So the next is the MOF. The MOF is simply Microsoft Operations Framework. So yes, Microsoft has its own, operation framework, which they actually utilize, and it's quite an interesting framework. MOF kind of has a process model that is divided into 4 quadrants. So what MOF uses is more or less a quadrant, and the operational procedures, like operational procedures, sometimes you hear people call it service management functions, kind of has instruction. And these 4 quadrants are changing quadrants, the operating quadrants, the optimizing quadrants, and supporting quadrants. So all of these quadrants has specifics, what they do, how you can really work with them. Same thing as the Itil life cycle as well, but it's not the same. Actually, they are not similar in any way, but just the same way that they have like ways to follow or ways to go about initiating or utilizing them. That's what the quadrant of MOF also does. So I know I'm kind of not giving you in depth, but if you want to know really more about what I'm saying, if you want me to talk about any of this framework specifically, you can just let me know and I would make out, I'll kind of just do that for the sake of persons who would like to know more about them. So another is the Devops. I know most of us have heard about Devops, and Devops is simply a combination of software development, which is dev, and IT operations, which is ops. So it kind of brings together an unattached set of principles and then unifying them based on business needs of the organization. So I know that we have DevOps persons in the core, and they can actually say that, or they can agree with me that it's simply meshing dev and operations together. So you kind of use this methodology for cross-functional teams that are stimulated by open communication. So for service management or for service IT service management, you can also adopt the DevOps framework as well. I think we're using a bit of DevOps in the organization. if we haven't actually moved like 70% already in using DevOps in the organization. So you shouldn't feel like most of these things I'm saying are just out of the blue. No, they are not actually, because we kind of utilize all of these things. That's the purpose of this session. So another framework I want to talk about is the Open Group Architecture Framework, which actually aims to establish business goals and align these goals with architecture objective that is related to software development. So the talk or the TOGAF has like few domains. They have actually 4 domains. Which are called the application architecture, business architecture, data architecture, and technical architecture. And the objective of this, architecture development method is to kind of assist organizations in establishing clear processes regarding life cycle enterprise architecture. So if you're a kind of organization that wants to, that needs a way to better implement software technology, then you can use the TOGAF for your organizations. Now, the last 2 I want to talk about is the Icsm and the Six Sigma. These ones are a bit, they're kind of a bit tricky, but not so tricky like that. The Icsm is something that you can kind of align with the ISO 2000 and the Itil library. So you can make use, if you're a business that just wants to test the waters for the first time with using any framework, any Icsm framework, you can actually start with the Icsm, which has like a process model, and it's a bit lightweight for implementation. So it can act like the first step into introducing a full Icsm, that is a full IT service management. But while you're applying Itil good practices and kind of, trying to see if you can really go forward with using a framework or not, the Icsm kind of helps with that, because you can actually decide while trying to use that first if this is for you or it's not for you as well. So we have the Six Sigma, which is a popular management framework that organizations uses. And with Six Sigma, organizations kind of use what they learn from the data to reduce like defects in services, products, and then create like a better product for the organization and improve value provided to customers. So if you, I would say, persons in the manufacturing industry kind of make use of the Six Sigma more, because it has to do with data, using data to kind of see if you have defects and then improve on those defects you have, whether in services or in your products as well. So we have couple of benefits of information technology service management framework, and some of those benefits are: it helps you reduce IT risk, it kind of streamline decision-making processes, it also supports hiring and training efforts, it provides guidance and structure for IT, it improves efficiency, and then focuses on industry standards. So I know it might be like a bit, you're not sure because, well, maybe you haven't heard about it, or you don't really know that you are utilizing any of the frameworks while you are delivering services. But the truth is, once you actually pick a framework, once you pick a framework to work with, for example, in the organization, we use Itil in our service delivery. So I would actually tell you without anything that using the framework kind of actually helps us with risk reduction. And it also helps us with like decision making, because while you're using the Itil framework, you get to start from one of the life cycles. So it's either you need to strategize your service. Some of us come into the organization where the service you're already delivering is on its operation stage, and its operation stage or its design stage. Most of the time, it's design stage. So while you're actually designing a best way for that service to work, you kind of notice that because you're using the framework, maybe unknowingly to you, while you're still trying to get a grasp of what you need to do, those areas under the design, the service design, kind of helps you or helps your team, makes better decisions basically. And it also improves efficiency, because once you actually have a process in place, process is actually just streamlines efforts. It kind of improves efficiency, because instead of you to start from like the bottom, those processes kind of speed up processes or ways for you to get a job done. So we want to actually focus on Itil, which let's say Itil is the best Icsm framework out there. Some of us may disagree, but I've been using Itil for a while, and I have actually done my research on others, but I feel more comfortable using the Itil framework. Maybe it's because that's the first framework I came about. But I'm not kind of, fishing for Itil or kind of pushing for Itil, but just a little bit of why I feel Itil is the best. Now, Itil has kind of three common methodologies, and where you can use to establish, Itil in your organization. That's like providing better support, enabling business change, providing better services. So once you have implemented Itil very well, like the way you need to, really, these are the things you get. You get like better support out of it. You're able to adapt to your business change. You also provide better services as well. So Itil kind of provides guidance that can be reviewed to suit the needs of a certain organization. So it's not as a rigid book of rules, but simply to actually guide you. It's like a guide. The same way we have the agile, agile frameworks. It's just like a guide, or like I said, you have like guides under the agile methodology where you have, agile principles. Simply, it's a guide. It's not like you have to, it's a by force thing. No, it just helps you to better kind of deliver your service. Yeah, it helps you to better deliver your service. So how do you implement the right Itil process is the thing. So we've talked about all of these frameworks and all of that. But now looking at the Itil processes or the Itil life cycle, how do you implement them? We have 5 life cycle of Itil, and you can see it starts from a strategy, service strategy, up to the continuous service improvements. And I gave a brief definition of what each of these can do. So service strategy just helps with plans, planning your business goal and customer requirements. So if you feel like you need to kind of do a change with your service, it has to start with, and you are using Itil framework, it has to start with, service strategy, where you are putting together your business goal, and then you're making sure that your business goal and your customer needs align together, because if they don't align, it really would not work. You need to make that balance, so that while you're giving your customers what they need, your business is also getting what it needs. So also we have the service design, which is just transitioning the plans into action items to help the business. So once you have decided that, yes, this is the strategy you want to go into, depending on the service you're delivering, you kind of just move to the service design, puts all of those plans in action. And the service transition is simply applying the services within the business ecosystem while the service operations kind of describes the key processes that are associated with the IT service management. And then the chief of all staff, which is the continuous service improvements, kind of helps ITIL users appraise and bring in IT service enhancements. Remember, the continuous service improvements is what I explained kind of revolves around the rest of the life cycle. So at any point where you are initiating your service, be it the service strategy, the service design, and so on, you kind of have to go with, the continuous service improvements at each of those points. So I would say the ITIL, let's say ITIL acceptance, so ITIL has like 9 principles, for organizational change. And it helps with change management, communication, metrics, and measurements. And those principles are something that you have to have at the back of your mind while you're implementing, ITIL. And there are 9. I'll just say a bit of them. You can always research that to know more about them. They are called the focus on value. You have to keep it simple. You have to be willing to collaborate. You need to be transparent. You also need to start where you are, and then design for experience, which is like an important thing when you're working with ITIL. So what are the benefits of the Itil framework? So there are a lot of benefits, right, while you're using Itil. If you are really using Itil the right way, the benefits you can see on my screen are what you kind of get out of using Itil. And that's, you kind of maintain performance indicator for direction benchmarking and for direction. You increase skill, productivity, and competence of your staff. You reduce the training costs. You also increase staff retention. You reduce hidden costs as well. Remember, all of these benefits are really gotten from how you implement each of the life cycle. So if you start up with your strategy and you kind of really do it the way you need to, you will get the best out of ITIL. So in conclusion, I would just say that this is something that people kind of mistake a lot. So when you say ITIL, people kind of mix ITIL with Icsm, but the truth is ITIL is an Icsm framework that organizations use, and it's used across several industries in the world. So it's not just used in Africa, but it's used everywhere. It's used in any sector as well. So while ITIL is very common, it can be implemented by large organizations, small organizations, medium-sized organizations as well. And you shouldn't at any point say that ITIL is like the only framework out there that really you can use. It's not really that. That's because Icsm kind of explains the what of a service, while the frameworks kind of explains the how of how you implement that service as well. So this is where I intend to end my discussion today. I don't know if we have any questions so far. It might be a lot to absorb anyway, but if you have any questions, you can ask your questions now. If you cannot think of any question, you need to go back and think of them. That's also fine. You can also send me your questions on Slack or any of the social media handles you can see on the screen. So questions, any question?
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, please let's ask now.